Welcome to the channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Today we're going to talk about addendum in the world of insurance. An addendum is a post-contract attachment that modifies or totally changes some predefined contract terms. Usually, this addendum adds something new to a pre-existing document, as described in Adobe. Once all the parties named to the contract agree to the addendum, it becomes part of the new contract. Contract addendums and contract amendments sound similar, but as it turns out, these two contract law provisions are unique and have very different functions. Amendments are usually used to change something that was part of the original contract. Think of an amendment as a modification to the earliest agreement. For example, changing an agreed deadline. Meanwhile, addendum is used to clarify and add things that were not originally part of the original contract or agreement. To find out more about the addendum, listen carefully. What is the function of the addendum? Addendum function is to make amendments to existing agreements. According to the Corporate Finance Institute, business or legal contracts are often lengthy and complex. It can be time-consuming and tedious to rewrite an entire contract just to add a brief clarifying note or an additional performance clause or two or terms of sales. So it is much simpler and faster and less paper wasteful just by writing an addendum, which is then signed and attached to the original contract. Ideally, the addendum is in the form of a separate signed agreement attached to the original contract. Since the purpose of an addendum is usually clarification, preparing separately signed documents helps to avoid confusion. There is also the potential problem of fraud, when party simply types in a document that changes the terms of the contract. For example, increases the payment to be received for the goods or services, and attaches it. Getting both parties to sign each addendum will avoid this potential problem. The content of the addendum to the contract describes the definitions, sections, clauses, and terms that need to be amended, and all parties must agree and sign. Addendum language is sometimes tricky because the law requires all parties to a contract to adhere to the original language. For this reason, you should make sure not to create unintended consequences or loopholes with the addendum. Contract addendums are typically used when date adjustment is required, certain terms or conditions don't work for either party, a clause requires addition or deletion, the job description in the employment contract needs changes, then deadline extension needed, apartment rental terms have changed, and bigger changes such as those impacting the focus and structure of contracts require entirely new deals. For example, you may need a new contract if you move to another property managed by the same company. Consider having an attorney review any contract addendums, especially for agreements that involve large sums of money or last more than a few months. When adding certain terms or conditions while maintaining the validity of the original contract, you need to make an addendum. However, making certain types of changes does not require addendum. Therefore, we recommend following these guidelines for writing a contract addendum. First one, use the same fonts, margins, and styles used in the original contract. Second, reference to original contract with name and date, with title making it clear that this new document is an addendum. Third, name the parties involved in the contract. Fourth, state the effective date of the addendum. Next, state the elements of the original contract that the addendum wishes to modify. Briefly but clearly describe the desired changes. Next one, save the date you added the addendum and then add a closing paragraph to make sure the addendum is immutable. Add a signature block with spaces for both parties to sign. Add notary block. Number the amendment if the contract changes more than once. So what do you think?